In 2019, I had very little money. I had just graduated college and I was having a hard time finding a job in game design in the middle of the United States when admittedly most game design companies are on the coast. I took on some contracting work in mobile development to get by and ended up making only about $19,000 for the year. I definitely couldn't afford rent, and so I lived with my parents and spent most of my time in their basement trying to figure out solutions for my problems. But by 2021, I had traded over $1 million in volume in NFTs in just that year alone. How did I have such a complete transformation in such a short period of time, and what can you take away from my story? Well, obviously I was insanely lucky, but I would chalk it up to a lot of showing up and being prepared for when luck arrived so that I could capitalize on it. I spent pretty much every waking moment learning and dedicating myself to mastering the art of speculation, or buying low and selling high. In this gig, there are no guarantees of success, and you're constantly vying against other humans who have dedicated their lives to this craft. It's challenging to a degree that nothing else really can be, and for that, I absolutely love it. And so for a very long time, I've been obsessed about trying to trade and come out on top and master this art of speculation. When 2020 rolled around, there were a few murmurings about something going on in a place in China that I'm sure you've all heard of by this point, but back then it was pretty new, and so we weren't really sure exactly what was going to happen, but I had a feeling that there was a non-zero chance that it could spread to the rest of the world, and so I took measures to hedge my portfolio against downside risk. I spent $500 on call options on TLT, which is a stock ticker that tracks the 10-year bond yields. Just a couple weeks later, the Fed had an emergency meeting to stimulate the economy, and I was able to turn that $500 into $20,000 overnight. I essentially made more than I had in an entire year in a couple of days. I even went on to ride that wave to turn that 20K into 60K and then eventually back into 20K chasing that dragon. My inexperience handling that large amount of money ended up biting me and I wasn't able to keep it. But I did have enough sense to keep the 20K that I had initially earned and invest it in stocks that were much safer. And I was able to take that investment and use it to buy the house that I now live in. So speculation as a tool should not be underestimated for taking a small amount of money and turning it into something much greater. You really don't need a lot in order to make a life-changing amount of money off of this thing. But every success has to be earned, and you need to spend a decent amount of time in studying this stuff in order to come out on top. Most trades that you make, even as a professional, will fail, and so you have to keep that in mind and not put in any money that you can't afford to lose and make it a small portion of your portfolio overall. Great time to point out that I'm not a financial advisor and all these opinions are my own. I am nowhere near qualified to give you financial advice, and I don't know your particular situation. My journey didn't end there, however, and I went on to continue speculating and trading and investing and growing to where I am today. I was fortunate enough to see the GameStop movement before it really took steam, and I was picking up shares for $16 on average. I ended up selling most of them during that infamous rally, albeit some a bit too early, but who could have predicted something so incredible? But that run-up actually created the department that I work at today, the GameStop blockchain team. It is insane how the world works, isn't it? Joining GameStop's Web3 endeavor prompted me to learn all I could about the crypto space because I was relatively new to it at the time. They had hired me for my mobile experience, but I became obsessed again and made it my mission to understand everything about the space that I could. My favorite aspect was blockchain gaming due to my background in game design, and before long I knew more than most members on my team, which really helped me during our development process. But because of my prior obsession about speculation, I was actually uniquely poised to take over the NFT scene. For the final 6 months of 2021, I traded over $1 million in volume in NFTs, which is very insane to say out loud. I really understood what gaming projects would succeed and what people wanted, and I was able to understand how to trade them and capitalize on it very successfully. News came out at a pace unprecedented in my experience, and I would often miss out on trades by sleeping. It was that intense. It was really a speculator's dream come true. I was in the right place at the right time for sure. But there was a really big difference between NFTs and the assets that I was used to trading, and that was if you didn't take profits, there was no guarantee of it coming anywhere close to the levels that it was at currently. These were incredibly speculative assets. I would liken NFTs to something similar to options contracts in the stock trading world. They're highly illiquid and they change valuation rapidly. If I had used strategies for investing like buy and hold, I could have definitely failed, and many did, some probably people I sold assets to. So just keep in mind that you really shouldn't use the same strategies for investing on highly speculative assets like NFTs or even cryptocurrency. These things could very easily go to zero, and then you would have nothing for what you've put into it. Because of this, there are those who argue that it's better to invest rather than to speculate and to go with safer picks like index funds, for example. While I certainly believe that investing should constitute the majority of your portfolio, there is a time and place for speculating, and it's similar to the story that I had at the very beginning of this video. You should be speculating when you're tipped off about a piece of news that could heavily change the volatility in the markets, or when you understand that something is going to trade differently than how it's traded in the past. Then you're able to capitalize on this and have a small amount of money explode in value and be worth much more than if you had invested it for even 20 years. While most of us still have a lot of life left to live, there is a time and place for speculation and allowing your money to mature much faster, and then investing the majority of that back into your portfolio as well. Some of my best trades have started with less than $1,000. As long as you control the dollar amount that you're speculating with and continue to invest, you will come out on top. If you haven't speculated before and you'd like to start, here are the 4 steps that I've used to succeed. First, you want to identify a catalyst. This could be a news event, a change in market conditions, whatever you think is going to change the way that something is traded. Then you want to identify a target that this catalyst affects. Next, identify an entry and exit point based on historicals. And finally, strike when the parameters are met. Make sure to create a plan and stick to it, or else you could really mess this up. And if you don't have a plan, it's really easy to overshoot when you should be cutting your losses or taking profits. But even with the best laid plans, you can still lose in speculating, and the price targets for your exit will help protect you against that. You can speculate in any market conditions, including the ones that we're in today of high rate environments. This makes it an extremely powerful tool, but obviously very difficult to master. Speculation for me really boils down to how well you're able to process information based on past experience and future expectation. I make that sound easy, but it's one of the hardest things that you can do. And that's why it's imperative that you don't risk everything by speculating. We see it all the time on Wall Street bets, people going in, taking their entire portfolio and dumping it into a trade and then losing it all and posting it on Reddit for some karma to make up for their massive losses. For every one person that works out for, 1,000 more lose. And so that's why it's important that you understand that most of the time you are not going to succeed. When you do succeed, it is a wild success beyond your wildest dreams. It can really make a difference in your life and change the trajectory. But you have to be smart about it. It's a tool and it can be used for good or evil in your life. And if you understand the mechanics of how it works and how to best utilize it, then I'm sure you'll be able to make an impact in your own life as well. Trust me, the juice is definitely worth the squeeze in this instance. I'm gonna leave some links in the description below for you guys to study up in case you want to learn more about speculation. If you'd like to join a community of like-minded individuals, check out the link in the description for Web Freedom, my private Discord community. I've just uploaded a document there with more information on how to speculate that is completely free whenever you join up. I also post speculative catalysts there to help you identify trades that you may want to participate in. So be sure to check that out in the description below. If you'd like to learn about what I think the future of gaming is so you don't miss out on this brand new wave, check out this video on screen now. It's all about a competition that I did inside of a Web3 game called Splinterlands where I challenged myself to get to silver with the price of Call of Duty. So it's a pretty fun one and I'll see you over there. But that's it for today and I'll catch you in the next one. Thanks.